Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival. From their latest release called Metal City, there is Raven with The Power on Rock and Metal Revival. And with us today, we want to welcome back to the program Raven lead vocalist John Gallagher. Welcome back to Rock and Metal Revival, John.
It's good to be here. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing real good. Now, John, Metal City was released in 2020, but due to that pandemic thing, we weren't able to see you play these songs live for the fans here in the U.S. It's got to feel great to take this album out and see the reaction of the fans.
Exactly. You were just about to say the C word, weren't you?
Close. Close.
Yeah. I think of another C word when I hear that C word, but we'll not go there. Yeah, I mean, the way it worked out is we postponed the release of the record because we wanted to, basically our main arena, as it were, is Europe, and we'd had a European tour bounced twice, and it was like, okay, we're going to do this. And we couldn't get the opening band we wanted. They couldn't commit to that. It was like, well, we'll postpone it until whatever, October, November of 2020. So we'll put the album out in September. And literally after we made that decision, about a week later, everything started locking down. So we just said, hey, let's go with it. And it was actually a good decision because with there being no live music, people reverted more to listening to what was going on, and a lot of people checked out this record and really liked it. It was the right record at the right time, and we knew it was a good record when we had the songs written. But then, the different factors such as getting Mike into the band and having his enthusiasm and input on it, everything just kind of went over the top,
Yeah. Like we just heard the song The Power, which is a nice little ballady kind of tune there,
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like forced dental work, something like that,
Yeah, I love in the middle, you and your brother trade off solos back and forth, little bits. Now, what kind of bass are you using? Because you got a tremolo on that thing, don't you?
I do. That was my old standby, my Red Explorer, which I've had now for, 41 years, and it gets beat to death usually at every show, and it's still alive and kicking. So yeah, I used that on that, which was great to, it usually gets pulled out now and again for solos, but I believe I played the whole track with that, and then just went a little crazy on the solo with it.
Now, having a tremolo on a bass, that's kind of different. How do you stay in tune? Does it stay in tune good? No, it doesn't.
I've been listening. We've got a project going on here. I've been listening to some old bootlegs, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Well, I've basically got it to the point where it does. There's a lot of cajoling, and I have to work on the string gauges and making sure everything's stretched in and all that good stuff.
Okay.
Right now, I mean, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I gave it a major overhaul and had to route some wood out to sit the bridge a little further into the body. And it's actually working better now than it ever has. It's
nice.
like really good. But it's a thing I always wanted. When we first started playing guitar, my brother had this horrible copy guitar with a trem on it, and I was like, there should be one for a bass. Why not?
Yeah.
And everyone thought I was insane. And I went through this whole process of getting this guitar made because a guitar maker had made me a guitar, and I threw it up in the air and it fell to pieces without hitting anything.
Oh.
I brought the pieces in and said, make me a guitar that will not break.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we'll fix your wagon. So, one slab of marine ply later, cut into the Explorer body. I provided all the parts, the tuners, the neck, the pickup, and we went from there. I got the trem because I bothered a repair guy in Newcastle, our hometown, and I just said, do you think you could make a trem for a bass? And he looked and goes, yeah, why not? So he just took some Stratocaster parts, plates, did some metal work, and ba-bing, we had it. And, you know, it worked like a charm. Apart from I kept breaking the bars, so we had to use a chrome vanadium screwdriver.
Oh, nice.
So that's the bar, which is unbreakable.
Wow.
And then we had a thing with the back pickup. I wanted a bridge pickup on the bass because it just had a precision pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And he accidentally put in a guitar pickup. And I plugged it into this little amp, an AC30, you know, like the one Brian May from Queen uses.
Oh,
great little tube amp. And it sounded all kind of honky and weird on the back. I'm like, oh, something's wrong here. And I reached over and turned up the distortion and the volume, and all of a sudden it just started feeding back. I goes, that's good, just leave it in. And it's perfect, because I, you know, use the precision pickup to play bass, and when I want to go crazy and play solos, I just put that pickup on.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Very cool.
You know, John, one of the tunes that I'm really digging from the album, and I hope you guys are playing this live when you get out on the road, is Top of the Mountain. What's the story behind that song? Because I love that tune.
That's actually had a long gestation. I've had the ideas from probably 90% of those riffs for a long, long time. And every time there'd be a writing session, I would have a new version of it, and Mark would look at me and go, nope, I don't like it. I'm like, why not? Oh! So I changed a few things around. And basically the problem was it just didn't have a strong enough chorus. And I had this huge writing thing when we were doing this, where I was having a clear out. I was listening to stuff and going, oh, I know what it needs. I know what it needs. I know what it needs. Boom. We fixed it. And once Mike heard it, he was like, oh, absolutely. This is, you know, with an outsider's view, he goes, this is the perfect blend of the old and the new.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
got that feeling like the old stuff, but, you know, we can put a little bit more into it here and there. And we decided to play it live long before it came out, and it was just great getting an honest, clear reaction from people who hadn't heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time it comes to the second chorus, they've all got their fists in the air singing along, you know.
Nice.
So, you know, lyrically it's just about, sticking to your guns, and, you know, you've got to do what you got to do to get where you're going.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Now, where did you make the Metal City video? Because that cemetery looks really old, but really cool.
Oh, man, that place is just so nuts. My girlfriend's into the whole family tree thing, and we'd been in there, so it was kind of in the back of my mind. And we used to actually live about 5 minutes walk from it.
Oh.
And now it's all falling apart. They have this huge cemetery gate which is propped up with metal, and it's all deserted and run down. So what had happened was, you know, I was over in England. It was the lockdown. We were like, well, we need a video. I go, well, it's Metal City. It's our hometown. Let's do Newcastle. So our video guy lives in Glasgow. He came down from Scotland. And we're driving around. So the first thing was, we're driving up the street where I used to live. And I goes, oh, I used to live down there. And he goes, really? And he just turned off and goes, what are you doing? He goes, well, we got a film there, haven't we? So the scenes of me playing the bass in the back lane with the little dumpsters and stuff, that's where I used to live.
Oh, wow.
That's where me and Mark grew up.
Wow.
Right there. And then we went down to the cemetery and went past there, and he goes, oh, this looks fabulous. So we went in there and did a whole bunch of shots in there, which was great. And then we went into town by the Tyne Bridge and all that stuff. And then we went out to Gateshead, where the Angel of the North is, this huge winged apparition, which you can basically see for miles and miles all over the area. And, you know, it was locked down, so there's very few people there, so it was brilliant. Able to do the whole thing with the drone shots and all this stuff.
Yeah, it worked
out. And then Mark and Mike just shot their stuff over here, and we just pieced it together, and it came together great.
Yeah, Mark got the better end of the deal, though. He was on a beach, it looked like.
Yeah, he's on a beach at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something stupid, yeah.
Nice.
You know, John, another song I'm really turning up when it comes on in my truck off this release is Motorhead. And now, obviously, this is a song in tribute to Motorhead. Got any cool Motorhead stories you want to tell us between Motorhead and Raven?
Oh, well, we've played with them a number of times. I think we did 2 shows on the Iron Fist tour, which was kind of Motorhead at the peak in England. Not many people were playing those size halls in England, so we played, I think, Leeds Queen's Hall, which is this horrible but cavernous, gigantic venue, and that actually was the day Randy Rhoads died.
Oh, man.
I remember that because we came off stage all pumped and all happy, and Doug Smith, the manager of Motorhead, was sitting all depressed in the corner. I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I just found out Randy Rhoads died.
Oh, man.
But on the happier side of things, they had this ridiculous stage setup where the curtains opened and the band's playing, there's nothing. And then the entire stage came down from the ceiling.
Whoa.
Wow.
Ah.
So we played the show and never heard monitors so loud in all your life. It was, making your teeth drop out. It was like crazy. And when they came to go on, they were completely blitzed out of their mind. Them, do you want a drink? Here's my drink. And I smell it, and it's like, rocket fuel. I'm like, no thanks, I'm good.
Man.
Fast Eddie had the notes written on the side of on his set list. So he could just make a noise in A until he figured out which song it was,
Oh, man.
Oh, dear. But then we played with them. When we were touring, we had Metallica opening up for us, and we jumped on a date with Motorhead in, I think it was Buffalo. And so it was, Motorhead, Raven, and Metallica. Ooh. And in the dressing room, which is this big club, they had the kitchen, which they took over as the dressing room. And right at the end of the show, everyone's packed up, and you go back to do the idiot check, to see that no one's left a guitar in the corner or their suitcase or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's this big walk-in freezer, and the door opens, and Lemmy comes out holding a box of pita bread. And he stood there like a deer in the headlights. And me and Mark's looking at him going, what are you doing? And he goes, well, you've got to steal something, haven't you?
Man.
Absolutely brilliant.
Too funny. Well, so what was it like back in the day getting to touring with Ozzy and with Randy Rhoads? I mean, talk about some guitar playing. Wow.
Well, everything happened very quickly for us once we did our first single, Don't Need Your Money. Mm-hmm. That got played by a guy called John Peel, who was a BBC disc jockey, whose whole thing was, I play new music. He didn't care what kind of new music it was, but if he got new music, he would play it and then let the audience figure it out, Mm-hmm. So he was like a big deal, especially during the punk era. They'd get all these crazy 7-inch singles, and he'd just play them. So our crazy 7-inch single came along, and he played it. And while it was on, Ozzy was doing an interview for something, and the radio was on. He goes, who's that? I like that. I want those guys. I want those guys to play with me. And he tracked us down. And the next thing you know, we did 4 dates on the Blizzard of Oz tour.
Wow. And he tracked you down. Wow. That's pretty cool right
there.
Yeah,
it's like incredible. Incredible. So we did Newcastle Mayfair, we did the Sunderland Mayfair, we did Middlesbrough Town Hall, and we did Hammersmith Odeon down in London.
Whoa. Nice.
Not
too shabby.
Yeah, nice job there.
Oh, hell yeah. And it was great. It was great seeing the human side of them, like when they played Paranoid and they would all screw it up, and Ozzy's looking at them all like, what?
That's funny.
But, come on, Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake, and Randy, they were phenomenal.
Wow.
Just phenomenal.
What a great band. You talked earlier a little bit about taking Metallica out on their first tour. And then in 2014, Metallica had you open up for them in Sao Paulo in front of 70,000 people, which I just can't even imagine standing in front of that many people. Thinking back on it, when you first took them out on the road, did you ever think that they would be the rock and roll or the metal heavyweights that they are today?
Well, of course not. Who would? I mean,
yeah.
And basically, you know, that album is it's a different band. The first album come to the second album is a different band. Mm-hmm. I mean, a small portion of that is our fault. They watched us. They watched what we did. They saw how we had transitioned a little from the Wiped Out album to the All for One album, and said, and we love the way you guys kind of broadened your scope without losing your core sound. Mm-hmm. And, we'd love to try that. And, well, they did. I mean, they went far and beyond from what they were at the beginning. But we just loved them because they were like us. They were a gang.
Yeah,
you get some bands who are a gang. They were definitely a gang.
Aye.
And, it's just so sad what happened with Cliff. It really is. He was such a talent. He really was.
Yeah.
We'd sit down quite often, sound checks and stuff, and just throw bass riffs at each other and talk music. And he was just a smart guy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now, Mike Keller is a beast on drums here on this album. How did he play that fast? And where did you find this guy?
Oh yeah, he's outrageous. I'd put him up against anyone. He's like the heavy metal Vinnie Colaiuta. He's like just insane.
Yeah.
We had, of course, Joe Hasselvander for like 30 years in the band, and there was a few things behind the scenes where he was basically getting fed up with touring. He didn't want to be out on the road and all this stuff.
Okay.
But he had a heart attack. We had all these dates planned, and he had a heart attack 2 days before it started.
Oof.
So, we freaked out.
Yeah.
He was going to be okay, but what are we going to do about all these dates? So this guy that was working with us grabbed a guy in Chicago, this gentleman, Jimmy Mess, and we had booked rehearsal time for 4 hours because we hadn't played in 6 months, which is unusual. We rarely rehearse, but I figured it was a good idea, and thank God I did. So we got Jimmy in, rehearsed for 4 hours, and did the show, and it was great.
Ah.
And then the next 3 shows was this guy, Mike Keller, who we didn't know, but it turned out that we'd both been on one of the rock cruises. He was playing with Fear Factory, and we were playing. And, so he came down, we talked for half an hour, he charted everything, we just went on, played the show, and it was phenomenal.
Man.
Like, what? And we just said, why do you do this like this like this? And because he's playing the studio records. Like, oh, well, we kind of play a little faster and looser than that. He goes, really? I says, yeah, improvise, go crazy. Really? I can do that? Yeah, please do. And from the get-go, we were looking at each other and putting little bits in and, having that three-way ESP thing, which is what this band's all about. So we knew he was the guy. And by the time we got the 3rd show, it was as if we'd played 1,000 shows, it was great.
Wow.
So we had to go to Europe, and we had the guy from Annihilator fill in on one festival. It was awesome. And we had this other guy fill in on a tour. We did like 11 dates with Hyrax opening up for us. And that was great. But we had our eyes on Mike. We thought there was a definite fit there. So when we came back, we discussed and says, do you want in? He goes, yeah, absolutely. And that was like June of 2017. And from June till the end of the year, we did like 150 dates.
Whoa. Man.
Which is like constant.
Yeah.
Constant touring. And of course, and that's when we recorded, at the tail end of that, that's when we recorded the live record, which eventually came out in 2019. The Screaming Murder, Death from Above live in Aalborg.
Nice.
Which, as I always tell people, Aalborg is not a testicular disease. It's actually a city in Denmark.
Nice to clarify that. So now a serious question. Looking back on your whole catalog of music, are there any songs you think maybe could have benefited from adding some cowbell.
Cowbell? You always need cowbell. Dun, dun, dun. Can I join in? I'll join in. Sure.
Yeah. Nice. 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 All right. This is the first time somebody actually had a cowbell right there, ready to go.
See,
that's awesome.
Being in the kitchen.
Well,
close enough.
We're in Wisconsin. We have to have a cowbell. It's law.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can't leave the house without one.
You have one around your neck thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, John, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. You guys are coming to Cudahy in October. I think it's the 22nd is the date on that. Cool. On the
and Reggie's in Chicago.
Yeah,
too.
Reggie's in Chicago. So we're hoping our Rock and Metal Revival listeners.
Let me see. We've got the 20th is Louisville, Kentucky. The 21st is Akron. The 22nd is Columbus. The 23rd is Chicago. I believe it's the 24th.
24th in Cudahy.
We're coming to you guys. Yeah.
All right.
Really looking forward to it. We did one show about just over a month ago in Belgium. We did the Alcatraz Festival, which was, like pulling teeth with regulations and stuff to get out there and do it and get back out. But it was so well worth it. And, we played the Power for the first time, which was awesome.
Nice.
We pushed that in there.
Cool.
We just no rehearsal. We just all learned it and then just, okay, let's go.
That's the way to do it, man.
And it worked out. I'm hearing these bands that were on, we've done 2 weeks of pre-production for this. We're looking at each other laughing, going, we didn't.
Nice.
But that show is up on YouTube, Raven at the Alcatraz Festival. And it's really cool. They did a great job, so check that out.
We're going to have to check that out. Well, we're going to play another one off the album. We're going to play Metal City. This is a tune that Jerry and I are just loving right now, and we look forward to Raven coming to our area. And John Gallagher, as always said, it was a pleasure to have you on Rock and Metal Revival.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. And everyone out there, we'll see you real soon.